Questions. We have tons of them. What if some of those questions can be answered with a simple email? Now is that time, and welcome to Chat with Charlie. Host Stephanie Lynn is a certified spiritual life coach and psychic medium. She will work together with Spirit to answer both your submitted and live questions. Not only will Stephanie be providing you with insight, but also interviews with amazing guests. Now, your host of Chat with Charlie, Stephanie Lynn.
Good morning, everybody. As you can see, I am being joined today by Ellie Weisensell. And I know you guys always love when Ellie comes on, and I do too. It's really open today, guys. So today on Chat with Charlie, you guys know where to find us here on WLTK-DB. And it's an open forum. So shoot in if you have, questions about the meaning of life, your journey. I don't know. Shoot it in. We're leaving it kind of up to Spirit to dictate the conversation. Good morning, Lisa in San Francisco. Thank you so much for tuning in. So how are you, Ellie?
Oh, I'm doing good. How about you?
Oh, good. Busy, busy as always. So I'm kind of excited to be back. I was out sick last week, and so I'm excited to be here and kind of return back to my schedule. So I did want to talk about something. We had both seen these cards that Christina had, her soul cards. Good morning, Lee. Thank you for tuning in. And I'm thinking, I haven't worked with these a lot, but I'm thinking maybe today, if people want, we could pull a couple cards too. I don't know if you have your cards handy.
I don't have that deck. I do have, I did pull out another deck. My favorite is the Sacred Forest as well.
So. I have that one sitting right underneath my soul card deck. So good morning, Tim. Good morning, Jackie. I'm glad you're doing your happy dance. So for those of you, as we kind of wait for viewer questions to come in, who are new, who may not know who Ellie is, tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Oh, good morning, everybody. I have actually been grateful to be on Steph's show a few times. So I'm always happy to come back to see what Spirit has to bring up for us today. But as far as I am a psychic medium, and I am a certified emotion code, body code practitioner, and a Reiki master. And so I just kind of dabble in a lot of different other areas as well, and just kind of bring it all together and bring forward what's best for the client that presents himself.
I love that. That's a great way to put it. Good morning in Montana. Thank you for tuning in. What I think is interesting, and you kind of said this, is you kind of dabble, right? We all kind of dabble in other things that maybe we don't view as our specialty. But how did you, for like me, as these things that I dabble in kind of come in, they come in for specific purposes. And sometimes it's to help for a one-time thing. Sometimes it's to help in scenarios as they come up. When have you found that some of these things you dabble in kind of entered in with your abilities?
Well, it always seems like when something comes in and I start dabbling in it, there is a specific reason for it. And it's usually for a specific client.
Right.
And so then I get hooked into it to figure out what needs to be done to help the client. And then I've enjoyed it. So I've kind of kept bits and pieces of it, like numerology.
Yeah.
I got into that for a specific reason. And then I have brought it forward for the clients that have popped in and need a little bit of help with something.
Right.
But it's not like one of my main tools, but it does every once in a while pop up to be of use for somebody.
Yeah, I like that. And, I find that happens with me too, is maybe we're not specifically looking at using this tool, but then a client will come in where that kind of pops in and it becomes important. Good morning, Erica. Thank you for tuning in, and Michael. And guys, if you've got, questions about things, metaphysical things, please shoot those questions over, because it would be, I don't know what's going on with my light today. Like, seriously, when we leave things up to Spirit, it gets funky. Like it gets funky. So I do see
you doing that.
No, I moved it up because, like, okay, so I was getting ready for the show, and again, leaving it up to spirit today. My desk, I have a soda, I have water, I have coffee, I have snacks, I have multiple, like there's all kinds of weird things sitting on my desk for the show that aren't normally in my office. And I'm like, why do I need cheese crackers? I don't know, but I have cheese crackers just in case I need that. So we do have a question right away. Jackie says, I have a question. Hopefully you can help. I've been having a very rough month. Energy seems very off. Any suggestions as to what's happening or what I can do to swing this back? You know, a lot of people have been saying energy is off. You know, that's probably the most frequent comment I have heard all month, really.
Yes. Yes. There's a lot of transformation going on. And I don't know what state you live in.
She is in Pennsylvania.
She is.
Yep.
I'm almost feeling like you're not keeping yourself grounded enough.
Yeah.
And I know life happens all the time. There's always something going on. But every once in a while, I feel like your shield is going down and things are coming in. So maybe practice a little bit more of pulling your shield up every morning when you get up. And then every once in a while, remember to pull it up again during the course of the day. Because I feel like you're not keeping it and it's kind of falling down as the day goes on.
And I really like that. And as you were talking, what I was seeing specifically was like and I think it was representative of that disconnect and not being grounded. But then I saw almost like a clearish, I don't see auras, so I don't want to call it that, but like energy connection. And to me, I feel like it should have had color, but I felt like the color was fading out. So I feel like in that, what I'm seeing is, I don't know if it's not keeping boundaries, if it's not taking self-care and refilling and doing some things for you, but it was almost like a draining that I kind of saw going on. And in that too, I feel like when I tune in, I feel like within your environment, within your space, so your home is what I'm feeling. I also feel like the energy is off there. I don't know if you need to shift furniture. I don't know if you need to look at feng shui, but it's not a good flow. Does that make sense? Like it just, and so when you're spending all your time in this space that already does not have a good energy flow, I feel like that affects your individual energy, if that makes sense.
You may want to also look at your chakras.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of those could be out of balance, which would be part of the energy flow again that Steph was talking about.
And so, and I did pull, so Ellie and I were just kind of talking about this, that new deck, Soul Cards 2. I haven't worked with it a lot, but I really like these cards. So I had pulled it. And these cards actually have no book, nothing written on the cards. It's all kind of interpretation and what you see in the deck. And so the card that I pulled shows a female upside down and then a child, you know, next to her. And the card's obviously inverted. But when I looked at this card, really the first thing I felt is I felt the self-care, but then I also felt the need to focus on, like, I feel like there's a separation of self and inner child is what I keep hearing. And so I feel like there is some healing that needs to be done as far as your inner child, past connections with this coming up. But I also feel like when I look at this card, I'm really pulled to the child in the card. And I feel like you have a child growing into their abilities and that you kind of got to get your shit together. And as far as spiritually or metaphysically, however you want to look at it, and kind of focus and start giving tools, because you can't keep ignoring that, because, you know, the light and the growth is really what I see. So I don't know if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. But speaking of, she says, I appreciate you guys. Thank you. We appreciate you tuning in. And Michelle, I see your question. I'm going to start it and we will get back to that in a little bit. But talking about energy, Ellie, and so many people, and we've been talking about, even personally and with other groups about ascension and about things shifting. And I think when we talk about these things, or, you always hear people, oh, Mercury's in retrograde or whatever is kind of going on. What is your take on, because it's not a singular thing, at least the way I see it. So what is your perception of such a mass energy shift?
I see a lot of where other people are coming from, how I feel that if you're more of a sensitive person, these energies, you're going to feel them more. It's going to be a little bit of a rougher transition. For me, it's like some talking about it, and yes, I can feel it and I know it's there, but yet I don't feel it quite so draining on me is what other people are going through. And when you look around the world and everything that's going on, there's major shifts and changes, and a lot of people just don't know how to handle it and how to take it on. And then they're seeing it as how do they handle it, and they're not handling it like they could handle it if they had a little bit of understanding of what's all going on. There is definitely transitions going on, and the energy is shifting and changing, and the world itself is changing. There's no doubt about it.
Absolutely. And I feel like, because I've had more, and I don't know about you, but even just the other day, I had somebody message me, and I used to work with their spouse. And so they messaged me and they're like, I was talking to my spouse. I've been hearing things and seeing things for years. I just don't talk about it. But they said I should contact you. And they're, and they had said something to the effect of, I don't know if this makes any sense. And I'm like, yeah, you messaged the right person. I got you. We'll talk about this, But I've had a lot of, whether it's people at venues, whether it's people reaching out that I know personally, or coworkers that are coming to this redefined perception. Does that make sense?
Oh, very much so. They're starting to, it's becoming much more open out there, and people are talking about it more. And instead of hiding it and try to ignore it, they're now seeing roads that they can take to find help to figure out what's going on and how to handle everything. So it's definitely shifting upwards.
It is. And I have somebody that I work with who is kind of interesting. I haven't quite opened up about all of my interests, but it started with a paranormal conversation, and she's like, oh, you do investigations, and she really likes the paranormal. But it was funny because yesterday we were talking, and my coworker was complaining about having an earache, and they're like, can you touch the side of my neck? Does it feel warm? And now here, coming from people who we're used to bubbling up, we're used to protecting our energy, I didn't even think anything of it. And I reached up and I touched their ear, and instantly my throat chakra closed. And I'm like, couldn't breathe. I'm bent over hacking. And I'm like, it's not your ear. I'm like, your chakras are all jacked up. But it's the point of that is it's nice to have that open perspective then from that person to say, okay, what can I do? It's not immediately dismissed.
Yes.
So I like that. All right, let's get to, and guys, remember, send in some questions. We'll see what we feel drawn to discuss what you throw in there. But if you don't give us anything to talk about, you're going to get a lot of nonsense from Ellie and I for the next 45 minutes. So Michelle says, I felt a lot of anger and not sure why.
So when I check into Michelle, I actually have that she is a clear channel. So it's because the first thing when somebody says I have a lot of anger, the first thing I usually go towards is that they've got a spirit that's hanging on to them that's causing them problems and issues.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the case with Michelle. So what I'm feeling is that she is also another one of these that doesn't know how to bubble up. Right. That the anger she's feeling isn't necessarily hers. It's off of somebody else, but she's taking it on. Mm-hmm. So she needs to learn how to bubble up so she isn't drawing that in and taking it as her own.
And so, when I tuned in too, I kind of felt some of that, empathic nature, but I also felt, I don't know, if you've looked at or have wanted to be more active, Michelle, if you're like me and you're stuck in an unfortunate repeat of winter constantly where you can't be outside. But I instantly, as I tuned into your energy, I felt more of a cabin fever type irritability. And so I don't know if it's that you just can't get out and do some of these things, if it's just you haven't been able to follow through on plans, but I feel a need to release some of this with physical action, whether it's just getting outside and grounding, whether it's, running on a treadmill, something physical to exert this out is what I was feeling. Before we transition to going back to chakras, I wanted to talk about, so we talk about bubbling up. We tell people all the time, you got to bubble up. You have to protect your energy. What does that mean to you? How do you, because some people can't visualize. Some people don't understand how to protect their energy. What do you tell your clients to help them bubble up and protect their own energy?
If they don't actually visualize it, which they don't have to, there's other ways of doing it. One thing is getting yourself a few crystals to carry with you that becomes a protective around you. If you're into the outside, getting out into that sun and letting that sun create the energy around you and holding on to that energy. There's a number of different ways of doing it. Imagine just bringing up a blanket and holding it up, and then that becomes a shield around you as well.
Absolutely. And I've seen things too. And when I'm working with children with abilities, a lot of times I will tell them to picture themselves in a clear Pokemon ball, to picture themselves putting on a cloak, where if they picture pulling up the hoodie, as they pull the hoodie over them, then that is their self-created space. There's so many different ways. You have to really find what resonates with you.
Yes, I agree.
It's it's funny. I have to tell you this story quick. I slipped on the ice the other day and I was super sore, bruised my ribs, not fun, And so I was just, I have a pretty high pain tolerance, but I was just in tears. And my husband's like, "Oh, I'll rub your back, and then I woke up yesterday and I felt great." Guess who woke up and can't move their neck? My husband. And so, and so today he's like, "Take it back. This is your fault." And, and he's just about in tears. He's so uncomfortable and I feel horrible. But talking about protecting that energy. So when he was leaving to go to work and I hugged him, I could feel him like literally trying to give me back what he thinks I gave him. And he's starting to catch on now, clearly, because he's like, "I know you're blocking this. Just take this back." And I'm like, "No, it doesn't belong to me anymore." But that's part of it. You feel that when next time you hug somebody, allow yourself to feel where those energies meet. Can you pull your energy back? Can you push your energy forward? And practice that. That helps you bubble up, is the point of my story.
Yes. Very good story.
It's kind of funny.
So you're asking.
He doesn't watch my show anyway, so he'll never know we had this conversation. Brenda asks, how do you clear your chakras? We tell people to get their chakras in alignment, to clear them. How do they do that?
There's a couple of, with everything, there's always multiple ways of doing things. One is you could jump into the shower, and as the water's coming down, just start with the top, and in your mind's eye, just watch it, clear it, pull all the gunk out, and let it go down into the drain. And then after you feel that one is cleared out, then you go on to the third eye. You just keep working every chakra. Right. And as you clear things out, just imagining it going down into the drain, going down, and always watching your chakras going in a clockwise direction.
Yes.
And know the colors of the chakras as well. And then as you're seeing all this, see that color become bright and beautiful, and just keep working down every chakra. So that would be one way of clearing it out. Another way would be to find yourself crystals for every chakra and work with that crystal as you're working with the chakra. Steph, do you have any ideas?
No, I like those. Sometimes I'll tell people to listen to a meditation when they lay down to help either clear them or get them in alignment. Going to a Reiki practitioner, that helps, if you feel like you're not able to adjust them yourself. What's interesting is while you were talking, and you and I will know where this is coming in, but one thing that Spirit reiterated very clearly is, just like we align our chakras, we can work on ourselves with illnesses too. And so, picturing healing energy going into our bodies, if we're not feeling well, if we're dealing with things, is also very powerful to have that positive thought, if that makes sense. Is what they were saying.
Definitely. Positive affirmations also.
Yes.
There's a lot of affirmations. I like the meditations, because you can find meditations for each individual chakra.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And, and just those things of when you get up, even if you don't have time to lay down or sit and listen to a full meditation, I used to, honestly, I would wake up and my alarm would go off and I would curse my alarm. But now it's, I try to wake up with a different perspective of, okay, I'm going to stretch. Today is going to be a good day. And, that positive talk instead of starting out negatively. So, just doing those things. Yeah, I think we pretty much covered a lot of good ways to clear your chakras. All right. So Michelle came back and said, yes, stir crazy. I do go for a walk every day, but feel the need for fun. Long winter. I get it.
Yes.
I get it. In fact,
definitely.
I just made my husband use the backhoe to shovel out our camper. Not like we're going anywhere, but I needed to be able to feel like I could pull it out should grass reappear. Okay.
And then thought.
Yes, it's the thought that counts. And Jackie says, back to her reading, that my middle son, Jesse, who is definitely gifted, every time we're out in public, will literally pull up his hood until we're home. So you got to give him some tools.
Yep.
Is what that's telling me. So, but she already knows that. So Diana says, I have been really off lately, but I think it's getting better. I've just figured that I just need to narrow my focus down to only a couple of things at a time.
That's a good point. When you have too many things on your plate, it's hard to focus in on any one thing.
Mm-hmm.
You're kind of thinking of everything. And
I get that on a spiritual and non-spiritual front.
Yes.
And prioritizing, I think, too, Diana, but making sure that in that list of priorities, you're listed, and that you don't value yourself at the bottom of all the other priorities. That helps a lot. And, narrowing our focus is great, but some of those things don't need our attention at all. And so I'm seeing like cutting ties, cutting cords with certain scenarios or things. And, Ellie and I have kind of talked about this because I tend to take on a lot of things because I want to be helpful. I tend to take on things that I don't necessarily need to give my attention to, but yet what I have found is, as I have not been able to kind of push that stuff aside, that Spirit has really come in and started making me unavailable for those things, where I eventually have to say, sorry, I can't do this because they have made me completely unavailable. So.
Yes. Asking your spirits for help with that kind of thing, your guides, and they can help clear the plate for you.
Absolutely. She says, very well said, or very valid. I don't know where I saw very well said. That's not even on the list. All right. So let's see. We've got Lisa. She says, "Our soul." Ooh, I like this. Our soul
Yeah.
contracts a thing.
Well, my thought was when I saw that is I used to weigh really heavily on soul contracts. They are a thing, but they're only as big of a thing as what you want to make them.
Right.
How much you want to blow it up. There are soul contracts. We've created soul contracts in past life, and I was hell bent on I had a soul contract that I brought forward into this life, and that's why certain things aren't going the way I thought they should go.
Right.
And then I would try to break that soul contract. Well, yes and no. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. And then finally got to the point, it's like, is that really the reason why this isn't going the way I want it to? And I started looking at other avenues. So they're there. I feel like they're there. And yes, they're created, but it just kind of depends upon how you want to blow them out of proportion.
I agree with that. That I think it's a perspective thing again. And it's a looking at things as, okay, maybe this is a soul contract thing, and this is why I'm not advancing. But I think it, and this comes in with being in alignment with our journey, is looking at these things like Ellie's saying, and not blowing them out of proportion, or not giving them that negative connotation, which then I feel like self-creates the issues. So yeah, take the lessons and run. That's what Lisa says. And I agree with that, because you kind of, take the lessons. Don't continue to pour that negative thought process into it. Don't let it, keep balling up and progressing.
Yeah. And don't just hold on to it either.
Right. You gotta be willing to move past and unpack your baggage. If it doesn't serve you, acknowledge it and keep going, which is easier said than done.
It can be, yes.
So we are going to take our first quick station break. When we come back, I see we have a question from Angie. Anybody else out there in the world of the web listening to our podcast, wherever you may be, send in your questions, give us something to talk about, and we'll see you back here in just a minute.
The Body Code is a revolutionary method of energetic healing developed by Dr. Bradley Nelson, which allows us to quickly and easily identify specific imbalances that seem to underline chronic ill health, acute and chronic pain and discomfort, dysfunction, and stress. Ellie energetically connects with the subconscious of the client. Psychic medium Ellie Weisensell is a medical intuitive and energy healer and a certified body code practitioner. She identifies and clears energetic imbalances within the body and energy field. Contact Ellie at the website below, and Ellie can work remotely from a distance, by phone, online, video chat. There's no need to travel to an office. Remember, the Body Code is safe for humans and animals. Contact Ellie today.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. You are listening to or watching Chat with Charlie. It's about 28 past the hour. And today's guest is Ellie Weisensell. If you were paying attention, you just heard advertisement for her wonderful business and abilities. And we've been talking a lot about balancing energy. Call her. She's good at it. Just saying. She does other things too. So if you got spooky stuff in your house, you can call her for that also.
Actually, they're all kind of wrapped together, but that's okay.
Right. Right. So speaking of body code and emotion code, before we get to Angie and Erica's question, let's talk a little bit about how those modalities can help with some of these things people are talking about, chakras not being imbalanced, soul contracts, because it really encompasses a wide variety of things.
It does. It does. With the body code, we actually can find, we all have emotional baggage, things that happen in our life, and we feel the emotion and we think we've processed it. We think we let it go, but then it gets stuck in the body because we didn't really process it like we thought we did.
Sure.
And then we even have the emotional baggage of our ancestors and our own past lives. And when something happens in our current life that runs parallel to a past life or our life on another astral plane, it can bring that forward into this current life, which will disrupt everything. So what we do is we go in and we find those emotions. We find where they're stuck, and then we help process it to release it, and your body will let it then go. Emotions can actually even cause physical pain.
Yeah.
So if you've got something going on that you've got a physical pain someplace, finding that emotion, finding that baggage where it's stuck within the body and releasing it, letting it go can help release that pain and let your body heal the way it naturally should on its own. One of the things that we talked about chakras a few times now is that a lot of times chakras will become imbalanced because of the emotions that we're hearing and it's causing the imbalance within the body.
Absolutely.
So letting those emotions go will help the chakras go back into alignment and run the way they should.
Yeah. And this is a modality that can be used on animals. It can be used.
Yes.
Yeah.
Humans. I even use it on inanimate objects.
Right.
Because everything has a vibration.
Yes, absolutely.
Even like the chairs we're sitting on, they all have a vibration. So I actually had a washing machine that started acting funky up on me. And it's like, you can't be doing this. I don't want to go out and buy another. So I was figuring out what's going on with the machine, using the emotion code, the body code, and some of the other modalities. And it's been running fine since.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. I'm so fascinated with the body code and emotion code. But I have a question that's occurred to me several times when we talk about the body code and the emotion code, and we've never really had a chance to discuss it. When we talk about ancestors and healing that ancestral past, but then we also talk about how we can heal past life issues. I guess my question is, are we healing? So if we're looking at healing ancestral.
Oh, I froze.
Oh, you froze? That's okay. If we're looking at.
You might have to repeat the question.
Okay, that's okay. When we're looking at healing past lives, or we're looking at healing ancestral things that have been passed down, and I guess more specifically looking at the ancestral things, are we healing ancestral ties that fall in from this life, or ancestral ties that tie in from who we were in a previous life, or both?
It can actually be both. So when we're finding out, like if we have like something stuck within us that came from an ancestor, like a miasm from years ago, ancestries ago, generations ago, we go back as far as what we need to do to find that ancestor who created the problem or the issue. So when we release it from you, we're also going backwards, releasing it from all the way back to where it first originated, because when they had it, it went into their DNA, and it just keeps going into everybody's DNA. And not only do we go backwards, but we also go forward if you have kids or grandkids, and it plays them out of them as well. So it'll go through the generations, but it also go into past lives. I just dealt with a young child that had an issue in the current life from a past life. So I went into the past life to heal it in the past life to let it go in this current life.
Right. Yeah. It's super interesting to me. So Angie, I want to get to her question. She says, I've been counting my blessings every day and feel like I'm trusting that everything is part of my life plan. So I have less anxiety in general. I feel much calmer, but my body aches like never before, and I have always had low energy. I feel like I was born tired.
When I was reading that, I heard the words holistic doctor. So I don't know if you've got a holistic doctor that you're going to, or if you've got one that you really connect to. and I don't know if you've been in recently to have some blood workup done, but I do know that blood workup is kind of an overview thing. It's kind of for the most population, but it doesn't mean it's necessarily correct for you as an individual person.
Right.
So if you've gone in and they've done the iron workup and they said, oh, your iron's fine, you shouldn't be tired. Well, that's an average population, but that doesn't mean that's right for you. Mm-hmm. So you may want to consider finding another doctor, more of a holistic doctor that would look deeper into you personally to see if you might need something to help bring the iron up.
Yeah. And what's interesting is I believe it's Dawn, when I was reading that from Holistic Works LLC, and that kind of popped in. So I feel and wholly support what Ellie is saying about looking at other options as far as who you consult with. But then I also saw, because I've dealt with chronic pain forever. But one thing I realized is when I became a Reiki practitioner, and the more I did Reiki, actually the less pain and aches that I had, because you're constantly moving that energy. So looking into if you don't do Reiki right now, that might be something to look into also, so that you're, even if you don't use it as a practitioner, so that you're learning to move that flow of energy and bring in that feeling of that healing energy and that warmth. I feel like that could help you also. Great questions today, guys. I like it. Keep sending them in. All right, we've got another question from Erica, and she says, I felt very stir crazy lately. I'm the type of person who always has to have things to do, and lately I can tell Spirit has purposely made it so I have far less to do. Learning to be okay, enjoy free time is challenging. Any thoughts or messages on this?
I'm almost feeling like Spirit is clearing off your plate because there's something they want you to be learning that you kind of putting to the side, like, but yet you're not wanting to dive into it. That's why I feel they're clearing off your plate. Is that what you got, Steph?
It is. And that's exactly, and I love it, because these totally is like the exact same message. Is the first thing I heard was, we're not clearing your plate. You have things you're supposed to be doing. You're just choosing not to do them. So it's on you.
Yes.
So, and you clearly, I know you know what you're supposed to be doing. So can't help you if you choose not to do what Spirit is opening the door for you to do. But they will keep irritating you. I can tell you that. Yeah, they're not going to let it go.
No, they don't.
No. So keep sending in your questions while we wait. And I can't remember who this card was for, because I was shuffling cards during the break and I hadn't seen the question pop in. And I want to say it was Diana, maybe before the break, but whoever had popped in a question right during the break, this card had popped out and I'm like, I don't know where this came from. And then we got to talking, but I had seen the question. But it was a card of looking in the mirror. And it's that mirror image back for the soul card. And I really felt that this attested to needing to not necessarily connect with your higher self, but like to connect with those things that you don't want to see in the mirror, if that makes sense. Acknowledging those, kind of like shadow work, I guess, if that makes sense. But I'm sorry, I don't remember who the card was for. But if you're still listening. All right. I like Lee's question. Do spirit guides appear in human form?
I've always felt that your spirit guides will appear as what you want them to be appearing as.
Yeah.
What they'll come in as what would resonate for you. So if you've got an idea that you want them to come in and looking a certain way, that's how they're going to come in and look a certain way.
Right.
At least to start with.
I agree. I feel like, I felt like, we call them familiars, animals coming in as guides for us, that they do come in all different ways. And even, I'll tell people that I'm working with who are looking to connect with their guides who aren't sure of their name, just give them a name. If you want to call them Billy Bob, eventually they're either going to be okay with you calling them, because it doesn't really matter to them usually what you call them, how you connect with them. They are there in that purest form to help you and to help guide you. So I always say, give them a name, picture them however you want, and they will either get tired of it and be like, listen, that's not my name, but you'll have built that connection. And that's what's important, is identifying that energy and the different energies of those guides that come in. And so they might appear to you as a little leprechaun. If you imagine them that way and they're not a little leprechaun, maybe eventually they'll be like, no, this is what I look like. I don't want to look like that. So start the connection any way you want. And if you're feeling like maybe you saw something or connected with something that really resonated to you as one of your guides, I would take it in whichever way it appeared.
I agree with that. When I started down the path, every guide that came through, I demanded they have a name.
Yes.
And most of them were okay with the names they chose, but I had one that he was just adamant he was not going to be given a name.
Right.
And I think it was to teach me, because now that it's been a number of years, I think it was to teach me that they're here to help, that they don't need the name. That's something we decided.
Yes.
So I still have a couple that I call by name, but now the rest I just say it's my team. This is my spiritual team. I have a surgery team. I have a spiritual team. I have a team for every different area, and they're just, most of them are just part of my team now. So
yeah, I like that. And Lisa, she did follow up with, I was told I have a wolf guide I met when I was a child. And I, sometimes people call them totems, some people, whatever. I look at them all as being here to guide us. And your spirit team. Exactly, Lisa. I have a hawk that comes in regularly. I have a wolf. So we have a mass team that is made up by things that in this physical world, we have identified them as, but really where they are doesn't matter.
And they come in dependent upon what's going on in your current life and what you need help with at that moment.
Yes. And to follow up with that, Courtney says, they say your spirit guides can change throughout your life. I know how I feel about this. How do you feel about this, Ellie?
I feel they do. You've always got one from the moment you take your first breath until the last breath, that stays with you your entire life. And then I've got a couple that have been around for a really long time.
Right.
And then I've got a lot of them that come and go depending upon what I've got going on in my life and what I need help with at the time.
Right. And I agree with that. I feel like we have a core group who is like, we're in this for the long haul. How many you get really depends on you. And then you have those ones that kind of come and go. There's some that you might share with other people. So it's what they would call I think it's in England, like your master teacher or whatever. But I feel like it does shift, but there are some that you're not going to get rid of.
Right. Even if you try.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Even if you're like, I don't want to talk to you, I don't want to listen to you. They're like, we know, but we're still going to stick around because that's what they do. Well, some people are saying they're having technology issues. Sometimes you got to hop on YouTube to watch. Sometimes you got to hop right onto WLTK-DB to watch too. Facebook can be funky. So just know that that's out there. All right. So Facebook user, and I'm sorry you don't have a name on here. I'm going to call you Lola just because. I'm going to give you a name. It says, I've been feeling lost also. I feel like I have a redirection in my healing offerings. I've been told I know in my heart what it is, but honestly don't. Any insight?
I guess my biggest thing that I could give you here is that it will make itself clear to you at some point. And trust me, when I started down my path, there was something they really wanted me to do, and I kept bucking it because that's not what I wanted to do. Yeah. And until I finally gave in and started doing it, other things started coming in then at that point. So just keep yourself open, and whatever presents itself, just check it out, dig into it. And if it resonates, great, continue on. If not, then just set it to the side. Don't throw it away. Just set it to the side, because you may end up going back to it. You may get into something else and find out, hey, that really worked well with this. So you're going to bring it back in.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I'm feeling that part of where your healing lies, I don't feel like you see it as healing, but I feel like it's your ability to connect and to listen to people, because they're showing me you have that ability to plug in, to be empathetic, and to believe people's experiences. So I feel like that is part of it that is going to grow, but I feel like you're overlooking that as an ability because you feel like, well, this is just my personality. This isn't anything special, but our personalities are what makes us special, and those things about us. So be open. Don't think it has to look like something, big, where you're flying through the sky.
It can be something very tiny. And like Steph said, it can be something that you're so used to doing, you don't see it as special, but other people will.
Yes.
So don't overlook that.
Yes. And I like it. Lisa says, Lola, she was a showgirl. She was. Here we go. Close. Facebook user, it's Lisa. So hello, Lisa. Yes. And she says she is definitely a super empath. So thank you for that. All right. One quick question, then we're going to take our last break, and we'll come back and we'll pull a couple cards for you guys to give you some inspiration for the days ahead. So some tips quick on preventing energy sucking people. Throwing crystals at them is not a good option.
One thing when I read that is you need to look within you, what's going on with you that's pulling them towards you.
Yeah.
You've got something going on that you need to, it's called like the shadow work of yourself, where you need to heal something within you, because you're actually kind of pulling them in.
Yeah. And I think that's where what Spirit was showing me ties into what Ellie is saying. I see you as being a people pleaser. And so I feel like you, like Ellie's saying, you kind of allow them to come in because you feel like that's going to be how you help them. But in doing that, it manipulates your energy. So definitely some boundaries with yourself, and realizing that you do not have to be a people pleaser, and kind of look at things from that perspective. Give the people the tools, but don't be the tools for the means by which they do their self-work.
Right. So, I agree.
All right. Last station break. Start putting on your thinking caps. What do you want inspiration for? When we come back, I will tell you who's coming up next week, and we'll pull a couple cards. See you in just a moment. Welcome back, everybody. You are watching Chat with Charlie on WLTK-DB Let's Talk Radio. It's 48 past the hour. If you are just tuning in, I'm sorry you only got about 10 more minutes to enjoy with us, but you can hop on Amazon Radio, iHeartRadio, Apple, Podbean, wherever you download from, and find me. Catch up on all of the past shows or hop right onto WLTK-DB Let's Talk Radio. Also, if you are looking for Ellie, you can go to Ellie Weisensell Psychic Medium on Facebook, and there is a link, correct, that will take them right to your site.
My website, yes.
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 So you can find her on there. Watch both of our pages. We do tend to pop in and out of different venues, so you can catch us live if you like, or reach out if you have a need with something. So next week on the show, we are going to welcome author and inspirer, Mr. Johnston. He is really got a fantastic story, and he's here to inspire how he went from devastation in losing his child and then later to losing his wife, to how he started advocating for addiction and people to get help and mental support for our youth who are facing addiction or struggling with those things. So be sure to tune into that. It's going to be a great conversation. He'll be talking a lot about his different programs that he's set up, and maybe it'll just help somebody you know. So we hope to see you next week. All right, Ellie, would you like to do the first card offer? How many cards are you going to do?
Well, you want me to do pull a card or an affirmation card?
Whatever you feel like doing.
I've got a deck that's called The Universe Has Your Back that I take to all the fairs, and everybody loves this deck.
Yeah, go for it.
We'll do this one. I'll do one of those. It's an affirmation card. Before we jump in, I just want to put something out there that crossed my path before I got on this morning. I had a dog. I thought it was a dog. I had an animal cross in front of me, and it crossed in front of me with tummy issues. So I don't know if it's specifically somebody on this show or maybe somebody that's going to be watching the replay of the show, that they all of a sudden just stopped eating. I felt like it was a dog, but it could actually be a cat with a really big personality. That's why I saw something bigger. That you end up taking this animal to the vet, and the vet said there's nothing wrong with it. Keep in mind that manufacturers do change ingredients. They don't necessarily change it on the label, but they'll change their ingredient.
Right.
So if your animal stopped eating, consider maybe just changing the food. I don't know who that's for, but there's somebody out there. So
yes.
Okay, so I'm going to do an affirmation card. Attack, pain, fear, judgment, and any form of separation are merely calls for help.
I like that.
So I feel this has to do with a lot of kind of what we talked about today, taking on other people's energies.
Yeah.
That when we're taking them on, they're actually kind of asking for help, but you can find different ways of helping them without actually taking on their energies.
Absolutely. What a great lesson for all of us. So I was shuffling again. I'm using Soul Card Deck 2, and I had pulled that card earlier that I didn't remember who it was for. I can't make this up. I had shuffled the deck in case I had to pull any other cards. That card came back out. And so I stuck it back in. And as I was shuffling for cards to pull for the end of the show, yeah, guys, you guessed it.
Yeah.
Guess what card came back? So apparently this is a very important message that Spirit is trying to get across to you guys, the viewers. And again, you'll see this card with the female there, kind of leaning back, and then that child or child energy, whatever you want to interpret there, with the light coming out and pushing out. So I'm going to just hold this card up here a second, because I know it might be for one of you, it might be specifically for you guys, but with the soul cards, you're supposed to look at them, you're supposed to feel what in the card draws to you and what resonates to you. And so I want to make sure that whoever this message is for, that you're paying attention, because it's the third time that it came up. And so I do feel like when I look at this in some ways with the woman leaning back, that it's talking about ignoring something that's going on. But I don't know. But they want you guys to know that card came back. All right, Ellie, you got any more cards you want to pull or something you want to say about that card?
That's a pretty major card because it came out 3 times.
It
but
is.
I also see it where she had her arm out and the child was standing there. So she's trying to help protect the child.
Yes, there's some shielding.
From something that's going on. So
yeah,
that's a powerful card.
That's a great, I didn't see it that way. That's another great perception of, and that's the thing about these cards, guys. It's really what you're seeing in there. And yeah, I totally see that. So
yeah.
Are you trying to protect somebody? Are you trying to ignore something going on? I'm not sure. But I also hear don't turn your back. Don't turn your back. And Courtney says maybe it's someone reaching to help you. You know, allowing that help to come in. But
yeah. Pull another one out of that deck. I love that deck.
I've got, they gave me 5 besides the one.
Go with them.
All right. So next card we got, and it's kind of hard to see in here, but it's another female, and there's some almost what I would describe as tree leaves coming across. And to me, I see this as like, because I feel like I'm drawn to the leaves, right? And I feel like to me that's a season past, and I feel like it's something resurfacing, something from the past, another season coming back in. What do you think, Ellie?
Which for me, that makes sense because I see her, she's got her one hand covering her eye and her arm is up over the ear. So she's trying to avoid seeing something or hearing something, but yet the other eye is open, the other ear is open. So she really wants to know what's going on, but she's trying to hide it and not see or hear, but yet she's still intrigued with whatever is coming up.
Yeah. So, all right, this card, and it's kind of hard to see, but you can see, to me saw this as somebody coming out of the waves, somebody you're either reaching out for help or you're coming up to the surface. You need to get air. You need, you're coming out of it.
And I agree with that she's coming out of it. She's opening up the door. Whatever she's been hiding, she's willing to now let it go and let the world know.
Yep. But yeah, this is just such a beautiful, beautiful deck. And this card, when I looked at this, I really felt more drawn to the empty silhouette of a person. And it's like, what are you missing? There's all these empty pieces in there that, there's people, there's things going on. But I feel like if this card resonates with you, you are looking for something to fulfill that space. You're not quite fulfilled.
And I see the silhouette of the person, but the 3 different faces, to me, it's the silhouette of the person is trying to person themselves to somebody a certain way, and then they do it to somebody else a different way. And to appease somebody, they're not being their authentic self. They're being what this other person wants them to be. And they're just getting now to the point that it's just getting to be too much for them. And they're kind of clearing that out and creating the space so that person can be their true identity, their true self.
I love that. And Courtney says ego. And I could totally see that too.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. And in here I see, creating, but I don't feel like it's so much someone being called to create as it is someone being given an instrument to use. And not like, to me, I see them as not playing it. They have the instrument, they have everything they need, but they're not playing it. They're sitting there holding it. And I feel like it's a call to use the tool that you have and not just hold it.
And I agree with you 100% on that one.
Yeah. Okay. And Courtney says, hallelujah to that, Ellie. So, all right. And here is the last card. And you can kind of see that, the person sitting there at the bottom of the tree trunk and the face and all the hands. And to me, this really spoke to those ancestral ties.
Yes. And
You know,
carrying the weight of the world. Trying
yeah.
to take everything on, not only for themselves, but throughout the entire ancestors.
Yes, you know, and maybe this is where it's you're the one that's the generational stopper. You're the one that's correcting the things from the generation, or you feel pulled to help. You know, I see the helping hands, but you can only help so many or do so many things at one time, that I also kind of see it as being overwhelming, you know?
And if you go back to help heal that ancestor, it also heals you and everybody through the generations.
Yeah. So, well, my friend, yes, grounding. Don't forget your roots. I love that. This has been a very interesting show, considering we had no topic, no idea where spirit was going to take us. Hi, M. Covey. Thank you for tuning in. So I feel like we really were the tool that we needed to be today. I hope that we were able to reach out to help some people, to give you some insight. Do you have anything you want to say to everybody before Todd kicks us off the air?
You know, just remember, spring is rebirth. It's a chance to start again. Get outside, do some grounding, connect with Mother Nature, and just let yourself grow. Whatever crosses in front of you, accept it, and either let it go on if it's not meant to be yours, or use it as a tool with your life.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, as always, for being here. Yeah, love having you on. I hope everybody, if you haven't checked out Ellie yet, hop on, check out Ellie. You can find her on Facebook at Ellie Weisensell Psychic Medium. And on there will be a link to get to her to her webpage. Also, if you haven't checked out, which I hope you have by now, gone to WLTK-DB, Let's Talk Radio, WLTK-DB.com. Lots of great other shows. They're adding new shows. You know, the schedule is getting adjusted. So check it out. Don't be a stranger. We're all here to help you, to educate you, and to be that resource. I will see you all next week. Have a good day.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTK-DB.com.